guys! Today we'll be recapping a story, The Villainess is Shy in Receiving Love. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot. Enjoy. It all begins when Melody's mother returns home carrying not only stolen items from a wrecked carriage, but also the child of the said accident. Melody can actually remember her past life in which she was disregarded by everyone around her, and drives her to seek comfort in novels. She fell in love with a novel that ends happily, but the heroine's tragic childhood life really resonates with her. The novel follows a 5-year-old female lead who, after losing her mother in a carriage accident, was abducted by a slave trader and abused by the trader's daughter until being rescued by her father, the Duke. One day, when reading a newspaper article about a missing Duke's daughter, she comes to the startling realization that she is actually living the first chapter of her favorite book. The name of the area, the noble's name, and her name are all the same as in the novel. She is the daughter of the slave trader who was punished by the Duke. She tries to convince her mother to stop her evil business, but she fails and must resort to Plan B, which is to form a strong relationship with the female lead in order to escape severe punishment in the future. Her plan, however, is easier said than done because her mother is opposed to treating the little girl nicely, while Loretta, our cute little blonde girl, is still terrified of her. To start off, Melody tries to offer Loretta soup, which she sneakily eats, and she also offers her bed since she's been sleeping on a tough couch. Loretta still appears terrified, but she takes this chance to sleep comfortably. Melody finds Loretta crying and tries to soothe her, but Loretta flinches, which Melody understands because right now, Loretta only sees Melody as a bad person. The next day, she sees that Loretta is sitting and not trying to avoid her. This is a good sign that Loretta is beginning to feel comfortable in her presence, and as she's just about to celebrate, her nasty mother yells, so she leaves Loretta with a cup of hot milk to drink before going to her mother. It rains heavily that night after Melody's busy day, and Loretta, who's been waiting for her, quickly gives her a hug. She does not say anything after that and starts burrowing herself under Melody's blanket. And when Melody opens the window to try and comfort her, the chilly air only makes Loretta burst into tears. She instantly shuts the window, realizing the rain must have been traumatic for Loretta because it rained on the day her mother kidnapped her from the crashed carriage. She worries about her, and so she opens up, telling baby Loretta that she too is afraid of the thunder and convincing her that covering your ears will help keep the sounds away. She then assists her in covering her ears, and that kind gesture puts Loretta at ease. But let's be honest, hands alone won't keep the noise away, lol. The two decide to sleep together while still covering Loretta's ears. Melody promises her that she will be happy soon and that she does not need to worry. Cuties. Meanwhile, the Duke is set to go where his long-lost daughter is said to be found. Melody and Loretta have become closer since that night, and today, Loretta proudly shows Melody her drawing, which she enjoys. The two are having fun, and Melody uses the opportunity to bring up the word mother while the two are playing house, and is surprised when Loretta doesn't react to it. She worries that Loretta has lost her memories, but her focus is diverted when Loretta curiously asks about a picture of a house she's been seeing in a newspaper, to which she replies that she too will return to a lovely house of her own. Loretta begins to throw tantrums after learning that the two of them would be separated, and she despises the idea of them living apart while she hugs Melody tightly. After some days, Melody's mother comes home drunk, just as Melody is preparing soup for our baby Loretta. Her mother happily shares that someone is willing to pay a huge sum of money to buy Loretta, but her daughter just gives her a disappointed look. And when Melody talks back, her mother's temper flares and she pushes her, causing the hot soup to fall on her leg and burn the side of it. Loretta rushes to help her, but she slips and scrapes her knees. Her mother immediately tells her to get to a doctor, not out of concern, but because she needs to sell her in good condition. Melody rushes through the rain, unable to think clearly, believing the Duke will surely punish her harshly for hurting Loretta. She then begins blaming herself, claiming that if the two of them had not become close, this would not have happened. She stumbles, but she's stronger than we thought and won't allow her emotions to get the best of her now as she keeps racing to Merlin's house. She is shivering and grimy when she arrives at Mrs. Merlin's house. Thankfully, the doctor seems to know her and immediately treats her wound. Merlin can't believe a mother can do such a thing to her own daughter, but Melody has no time for this and pleads with the doctor to go back with her to help Loretta. The doctor instructs her to stay while she prepares to go alone, but Melody gets up, telling her worriedly that Loretta is scared of the rain and will surely look for her. So they ride a horse together, but when they get close to her house, they see that a noble's carriage and a knight's wagon are already there. She then recalls that this is probably the night when Loretta goes back home, while Merlin plans to retreat as well with Melody. Melody is surprised by the doctor's decision since helping her escape would cause her future problems. But the doctor points out that the issue is her mother's and she has no business getting involved. She watches as Loretta is escorted away, grateful that she will soon return to her own happy life. But then her memories of our adorable little Loretta flood back, and she realizes that she isn't quite ready to let go of her just yet. Soon after, they witness her mother being arrested, signaling that they too should go back before anyone sees them. Merlin is a wonderful lady who treats Melody as if she were her own daughter. And since her son Isaiah has gone out to be a knight, she even offers to let her live with her to study medicine. Melody appreciates her care very much, but she decides to go to her house first to ponder over the offer more. When she arrives, the house is a disaster, and Loretta's drawing shakes her into tears because she hasn't had a chance to say goodbye. But as we all know, Loretta will not leave Melody behind, and so she comes back running for her. Loretta sounds like a heroine on her way to save her, calling Melody a baby and telling her to stop weeping while she herself is crying. Such a cutie. Just then, Loretta's father, Wayne Baldwin, walks in and offers her water. She right away kneels, apologizing, and is surprised to learn that only her mother would be punished and that she will be transported to a nursery where she can be accommodated. Since she helped his daughter, the Duke has shown her mercy, but Loretta can tell from their conversation that they will now be living apart. Our tiny bundle of joy really loves Melody, and Melody admits she feels the same way. Loretta then tells her father, whom she calls Master, that she wants to bring Melody with her, which the Duke couldn't refuse. After seeing how Melody can make his daughter feel at ease, he agrees and asks Melody if she wants to come along. Melody now has two options. She can return to Merlin and pursue medicine, or she can help Loretta, knowing the difficulties she would face. She returns to Merlin to say goodbye, and while Merlin packs her some stuff, she warns her of the harshness of living in the capital. Melody is well aware of this, so Merlin simply offers her best wishes and assures her that she is always welcome back at her place whenever she feels the need. The mother Melody deserves. Melody leaves with a grateful heart and soon finds Loretta patiently waiting for her. Inside the carriage, Melody wakes up with Loretta sleeping on her lap while the Duke observes them. She goes on by informing the Duke that Loretta's current fear of rain and memory lapses indicate that she appears traumatized from the incident. He intends to give his daughter enough time to heal and admits that he is still unsure if she is his daughter. Although Melody can confidently say that, aside from their identical looks, Loretta shines just like him, which surprises him to hear from a child. The Duke receives a directive to report back to the Emperor as they are traveling, so the two must arrive at the mansion on their own and meet Higgins, the butler, and his wife, the housekeeper. The butler escorts Loretta, leaving Melody alone with Madame Higgins, who appears to be a problem. She prepares Melody a bath, but the water is too hot for her, so she tries to add more cold water to the bathtub on her own without asking for help. However, Madame Higgins reprimands her, leaving Melody visibly terrified. The madam pours more cold water, not letting her lift a finger. And while Melody enjoys the warm bath, she notices Melody's bruises and angrily adds medicines to her body. Melody shyly thanks Madame Higgins, but she prefers to be called Grandma. Okay, I was wrong. She's cranky, but actually soft. She's a tsundere granny. That night, our baby Loretta praises Melody's adorable pajamas, and the two of them chat when Loretta begins to feel sleepy and refuses to return to her own room. Thankfully, Granny Higgins gives permission for them to sleep together, and Melody wakes up to a boy describing Loretta negatively. She recognizes the young boy as Loretta's second brother, Ronnie Baldwin, and when he tries to wake his sister up, Melody quickly grabs his wrist, shushing him. He's surprised by Melody's sudden actions, which makes him overheat and fall. She quickly lends her hand, but he just thinks she's one of those people who lies just to get in their mansion and angrily demands she go back and walks away. That did not surprise Melody at all. She already knew, but thought it would take days before they became enemies. A few days later, the Duke finally arrives home and gets greeted by a hyped-up cutie Loretta, who wishes to be rich like him in the future. It's just a sweet moment between a father and daughter when the maids interrupt, since Loretta has just ran away from them and is not yet fully dressed for the day. After entering the mansion, the Duke orders Higgins to get rid of any sharp objects in the house, since he notices how Loretta still enjoys running around. The next day, Loretta is eating snacks when the mean-looking maid, Alta, asks her if she really is the Duke's daughter. Loretta doesn't seem to be bothered by this and tells Alta that Melody has told her that she is the Duke's daughter and doesn't care what anyone else says. The maid tells her that only the temple's priest can decide if she's really the Duke's daughter, so she should be good. She also warns her that Melody will be locked up for lying if she doesn't get approval, which is when Loretta starts to worry. That night, Loretta asks for advice on how to behave well around the Duke. Melody assures her that simply breathing is enough, but Loretta wonders if that will be enough to win the Duke's favor. Loretta shares her worries about what Alta told her in the garden. The idea that they might take Melody away scares her a lot, and she becomes concerned if her father is really nice. Melody feels he is because he allows her to be with Loretta, and she learns that it was the Duke who ordered the glass decorations to be removed so they don't accidentally hurt themselves. Thus, she likes the Duke, making Loretta like him as well. Looks like the Duke hears the children talking about him, which makes him flutter. He then tells Higgins to give the kids gifts that are, blue. So random, but I love that he overheard them. The next day, Loretta and Melody are surprised to receive an expensive blue hat as a gift from the Duke. Loretta is so excited running with the hat on, while Melody is unsure if she deserves the gift and wants to personally thank the Duke. To make her feel at ease, Mr. Higgins assures her that he will relay her message to the Duke when he returns, and adds that the Duke will be pleased to see her using the gift he gave her. She gives it a try, and it suits her really well. Loretta rushes to the maid Alta, who, on the way, questions the little girl about the Duke's sudden friendliness and assumes it's because Loretta took her advice. Alta continues to bully her, which prompts Loretta to run away and go to Mrs. Higgins, who looks really scary right now. Our sly little Loretta repeats everything Alta says to her, making her shiver in terror. Alta tries to cover it up, claiming the lady is still young, so she is bound to say things incorrectly, not knowing Loretta is wise enough to remember everything she has said. This isn't something a child would make up, so the granny believes it and tears Alta's uniform with her badge. Better if she could rip her hair as well. Kidding. Anyway, she is now on her knees, admitting her mistake. Then she blames Loretta for her fate? This nasty maid tries to slap a 5-year-old kid, but luckily Melody is there to protect Loretta. That afternoon, Mr. and Mrs. Higgins express their displeasure with Alta's actions and informs Melody and Loretta that the maid has already been fired. Loretta is eager to devour the carrot cake in front of her, and Melody invites all of them to join them in eating the cake, turning tea time into a tea party. The butler reports back to the Duke about what happened and makes sure the maid will not be able to get another job anywhere. Melody knocks on his office and hasn't forgotten to thank the Duke for the hat before the day ends. She shares how much fun Loretta had and how it would have been lovely if he was there as well. But the Duke reacts in a cold, unintentional way that he doesn't like tea time, scaring Melody. But before she leaves, she expresses how much she likes her hat, which surprises the Duke. Melody decides to assist Mrs. Higgins in the kitchen, telling her that she enjoys doing something, and Granny gives her some peanuts she peeled, and warns her to stay away from the kitchen for a week because they would be busy cooking delicacies for the 3 elders. As she walks to her room, she is surprised by the young master Ronnie. He's grumpier than ever and refuses the peanuts she offers, but then warns her to keep an eye out for them since the visitors, the elders, don't like her and Loretta and may try to kick them both out of the mansion. She thanks him for being concerned about Loretta, but he blushes and denies it. So she wonders if he's worried about her instead, making him overheat again. LOL. He walks out and calls her ugly. We see you, little Ronnie. During the elders and the Duke's meeting, they express concerns about Melody being a slave's daughter and question the Duke's decision to bring her to the mansion. The Duke clarifies that he has entrusted the child with a task, to which they all object, claiming the Baldwin family cannot hire a criminal child. He corrects them, saying that she is neither a slave or an employee, but rather a guest at his pleasure. The elders continue to insist that no title, no royal blood can enter their family, and they even use the previous Duke's name. The Duke has had enough with their games and warns them that he has the last say in how his visitors are treated. But their discussion is cut short when he receives a call from the shrine and immediately leaves. While Melody and Loretta are enjoying their meal, the maids are thrilled to present them the gifts they received from the Duke, and when they open it, they are amazed to find 2 beautiful green ribbons. The maids place them in their hair, which they both enjoy. Later that evening, Loretta asks Melody whether she notices the terrifying elders whispering while watching them during dinner. She then comes up with an idea and asks Loretta to get her pillow because they need to go to the safest place in the mansion. The Duke worries about their safety at the time when he hears someone outside his door and is astonished to see the girls begging if he can help them. Melody says she wants him to keep Loretta safe and goes on to say that the young master Ronnie warns her to be careful, and she thinks that the Duke is the only one who could be trusted in the house because he is Loretta's father. He promises her that he would keep them safe. And she feels relieved, thanking the Duke, and prepares to leave the room when Loretta asks where she is going and explains that she should return to her room and she should stay at the Duke's side. Loretta insists for her to stay because the bed is big enough for them to sleep together, and when she asks the Duke's approval, he agrees to her right away. Loretta shows the Duke his spot on the bed while Melody thanks him for granting her request and expresses her gratitude for the ribbon with the Duke's color on it. He lets her sleep, telling her it's not time for children to stay awake, and she bids him goodnight. The next day, Loretta and the Duke prepare to travel to the shrine while Melody says goodbye. All the elders glare at her in disgust, but she ignores them. She's happy knowing the Duke is Loretta's biological father, and all will be revealed soon. She's thinking that after the wonderful news will be announced, there might be an all-night celebration, and the Duke's sons, Claude, who is at the academy, and Jeremiah, who is at the magic tower, would go to the Duke's residence to meet their long-lost sister. She is determined to assist Loretta to avoid danger. But when somebody knocks on her door, she opens it eagerly, expecting to see the butler, only to find the elders waiting for her. She is shocked to see the man before her and recognizes him as one of the elders. He confirms to her that Loretta is indeed the Duke's biological daughter, and she expresses her delight at the news with a broad grin. But the elder changes his reaction and tells her she can now receive her pay and leave the mansion. Surprised by what he says, she explains to him that she doesn't ask for any financial assistance to care for Loretta and only wants to stay by her side. He mocks her and becomes so rude that he grabs the ribbon in her hair. Melody tries to get her ribbon back from the nasty old man as he lies and says that the Duke has already told everyone that she is the daughter of a slave trader. She doesn't believe him and refuses to accept the money he tries to offer. He finds that she really has no intention to leave, so he grabs her hand and drags her outside, where the carriage awaits to take her to her mother's prison and move her out of the mansion. She feels hopeless and begins to panic when she thinks about reuniting with her mother. Granny thankfully arrives just in time to stop him and console Melody, who breaks into tears. Poor baby! Granny confronts him, but he gives her a hard slap that knocks her down. He bullies kids and now abuses a grandma? Then a guy quickly takes Melody from behind and drags her to the carriage. The maid, Patty, hears Melody screaming, but she is surprised to find Mrs. Higgins on the ground. Granny has no time to explain, and with a weary voice tells Patty that they must find the Duke now since the elder has taken Melody away. Inside the central prison, the elder presents Melody to her mother and advises her to take the compensation offered to her, leave the capital with her mother, and avoid the Duke at all costs. When Melody's mother hears compensation, she rushes over to see Melody, not because she misses her or anything, but to confirm if she has the money to get her out of jail. While all of this is happening, Loretta receives confirmation from the priest that she is the Duke's daughter, and this is merely a formality. Loretta can't wait for it to be over so she can go meet Melody, but when they get home, the elders tell the Duke that Melody excitedly left after taking the money, which the Duke finds strange. They exaggerate their stories, but the Duke chooses to investigate on his own, making the elders begin to get concerned and try to explain that Melody should be with her mother by now. As people in power, the Duke reminds them that it's against the law to pay money to get a criminal out of jail. But they act all loving, saying they are simply thanking Melody for saving Loretta. They even say that if Loretta makes new friends, she will definitely forget Melody, which Loretta strongly rejects. Just soon after, a visibly distressed Mrs. Higgins enters, eager to fill the Duke in on what has happened in his absence. The elder just won't shut up and keeps rubbing in Melody's face that she's really unfit for the mansion. Her mother doesn't care at all and just needs the money. When she finds that Melody has dropped it in front of the mansion, she goes crazy and thinks she purposely hid it. The guard refuses to release her mother without payment, so the elder decides to just leave Melody there to rot as well. Melody's mother grabs her and starts blaming her while Melody stares blankly at her. She then gets thrown to a cell when suddenly the Duke appears to save her. The jail guard trembles after seeing the Duke, while Granny quickly removes Melody's handcuffs and yells at the elder. She can't believe he can treat such a precious child so cruelly, but Melody is just another crook in his eyes, and he's blinded by his own social rank. You're too old to be bullying kids. The Duke let the old man go while he orders Mrs. Higgins to let Melody stay for a while, which confuses her, but she complies and leaves. He starts to talk to Melody by apologizing. Then he hands her a bag of gold coins that she dropped in the mansion. Her mother overhears it and convinces her to take it so they can have a comfortable life together. Lies! Melody knows that the Duke is giving her the freedom to decide right now, but she is concerned that she may cause problems for the Duke's family in the future. But the Duke assures her that it will be all right. Besides, Loretta will surely cry without her, and Mr. Higgins and his wife will be sad, and he will be unhappy as well. Her happy thoughts quickly vanish when her mother creeps in to see what's in the bag. She uses words that a child wants to hear from a mother, but she can't hide her desire for the money. So when she asks for it, Melody tosses the bag, spilling the coins all over the floor, and she happily grabs each coin. Melody can't stand seeing her mother acting like a money addict, so she leaves as a guard begins to confiscate her mother's gold coins. Even the Duke is taken aback by how insane Melody's mother is. Loretta races for her as soon as they arrive at the mansion, and they hug. While the maid works on her injuries, Loretta enters her room and attempts to blow away her pain. Look at that! Sailor Loretta to the rescue! Melody wonders why she likes her, but she has no idea, so she gives her a big embrace and tells her she just truly likes her. Meanwhile, the Duke receives a letter and orders the cleaning of his eldest son's room in preparation for his return. Patty notices Loretta isn't in her usual mood and asks her many questions to find out what's bothering her. She reassures her that she can tell her anything and will keep it a secret. The little girl then confides in Patty what her brother tells her. Loretta and Melody are not family. She wants to live with Melody forever, which she thinks is now impossible, and it bothers her a lot. Our cute baby even wishes her father had also given birth to Melody to complete her family. Patty has a plan for Melody to become a member of their family, which makes Loretta happy, but she can't tell her. Patty tells her coworker about her plan, but her colleague dismisses it as ridiculous because Melody can't possibly marry the Duke's son. As the two continue talking about the marriage, a cute, cheeky Loretta overhears it all and believes marriage is the solution. She thanks Patty and runs away, leaving Patty, whose soul has already left her body. Meanwhile, Melody informs Grandma of the development of her bruises, stating that she doesn't mind having scars because she already has a lot in her body, and that makes Granny furious. She believes that Melody has experienced many hardships at a young age and wants to take care of her. Well, in her own way. She informs Melody that the Duke's eldest son is returning home, and she assigns her to serve the young master's tea every day. This way, she will learn etiquette by observing the young master. Melody doubts her abilities at first, but decides to give it a try, which pleases Grandma, who tells her not to displease the young master. Melody rushes to hug and thank her, as she knows this is how she shows she cares. Mr. Higgins greets the Duke's eldest son the following morning, telling him that his father is in the Imperial Palace, and that they have a guest whom he thinks he will like. Melody is shocked to see the Duke's eldest son, Claude, already playing in the garden with Loretta, as she thought he'll arrive in the afternoon. While watching them in the yard, she recalls from the novel that Claude Baldwin is the most handsome young man in the capital, with exceptional qualities, who adores Loretta, making him the ideal brother. Plus, Claude was her favorite character in the story. After both Claude and Melody introduce themselves, she explains that she is delivering Loretta's hat. Loretta rushes up to her, mustering all her confidence to ask her a question. She begins by confirming if Melody likes her, and when she tells her she does, she hopes to marry Melody while giving her a flower, promising to make her happy, surprising both her and Claude in the process. She then hugs Loretta and promises to make her even happier. Cuties. While having fun, Melody notices Claude just watching them and recalls that he is jealous of people whom Loretta loved. A siscon. Melody begins to give the young master his tea that afternoon, but as she stands in front of his door, she realizes she's nervous and isn't sure what to do. So she knocks. As she waits for him, she recalls the garden incident and consoles herself by believing that she did nothing wrong. Loretta merely wants to play with her, so he should not see her as an enemy. When Claude opens the door, he tells her he heard she likes to learn the etiquette of the capital and asks if it's because she wants to be with Loretta. She confirms and says she'll do whatever it takes to stay with Loretta forever. After listening to what she has to say, he shuts the door and leaves her wondering if she had offended him again. From that day on, she tries to approach him, but she is always turned down. After learning that the family hates liars, she apologizes for lying to Claude and admits that she has no desire to learn the nobles' etiquette and lacks confidence because she's just a nobody. Claude thanks her for opening up and says there's nothing to apologize for, which confuses our girl because she has always assumed he's angry. But just as she realizes this, Claude ends their conversation and shuts his door. The next day, as she delivers his tea, she is still unsure if she has settled any issues with the young master. But it seems like she's safe for the day since Claude isn't home. She is supposed to simply leave a cup of hot tea and return the teapot to the kitchen. But when Claude opens the door, he frightens her into dropping the pot. He hurriedly covers Melody's face to protect it from the hot water and gets his hands burned instead. Melody starts to freak out, but Claude tries to calm her down, allowing her to sit on his couch and instructing her to close her eyes and ears while counting. And the first thing she notices after she finishes counting is Claude smiling. She feels much better and apologizes, while Claude does the same, saying he wanted to return earlier since he knew she'd be coming. But as far as Melody knows, he doesn't want to see her, making him feel sorry and admitting he's actually jealous of how close she is with Loretta. And casually adds that once a Baldwin falls in love, they can't control themselves, which Melody interprets as his love for his little sister. He's low-key confessing. He goes along with her naivety and changes the subject, giving her advice to act proudly in any situation. Now that she seems better, Claude gets closer to her, letting her know he'll bully her a little, which she refuses, but he uses his hurting hand as an excuse and orders her to visit him every afternoon. It's been days since she began sitting at Claude's table, doing some transcribing for him as Claude innocently supervises her and enjoys his tea. She's really having fun, but thinks Claude is too mean for not telling her what she's transcribing for. Then, she bumps into one of the nobles who doesn't like her and believes he is part of the upcoming incident she read in her novel. As she continues thinking, the maid escorts her to the Duke's office and is surprised when the Duke gives her a new green ribbon. She is still puzzled and wonders if the old man must have returned it, but that doesn't seem to be the case, so she happily thanks the Duke for his present. Then he sees some ink marks on her sleeve, so Melody quickly says she's sorry and explains that she's been writing. The Duke can see from her reaction how severely she has been treated in the past, turning her into a child who's quick to apologize for anything. He pats her on the head, acknowledging her hard work, but anticipates another apology from her. However, this time, he receives a thank you, making him smile. Progress. He hands her the ribbon and says she will need it so anyone will know she has the Duke's favor. Later that night, she goes to monitor Loretta's dressing room since she knows someone will break in and destroy her belongings, which will cause heartbreak for the baby. Instead, Claude surprises her and wonders what she's doing. She's able to come up with a believable explanation, saying she heard some officials planning something evil. But this just makes him worry more and that she should have reported this to the adults, by which he means him. He's only 15 years old, guys. He offers her a hot milk while reassuring her they will be patrolling the area and increasing the guards, relieving her of all her worries and realizing he's quite mature for his age. When she gets back to her room, she finds that all of the precious presents she got are broken. She's rewriting the story without realizing it. Instead of going after Loretta, they turn their anger on her. She looks very sad, but she chooses not to be upset, thankful Loretta didn't get hurt. The vassals of the elders are set to go the next day, but they refuse to leave quietly and have the audacity to warn the Duke that the others would mock the Duke's family for allowing someone of no standing to stay in his house. The Duke gives a threatening look and is willing to meet anyone who makes fun of his family when Melody comes out wearing the broken ribbon and walks with her head held high. She's furious and recalls Claude's instruction to remain calm and not panic, infuriating the nobles with her noble-like attitude. The Duke is ready to make them shut up until Melody speaks up for herself. She admits that her mother is a criminal and that she is simply receiving favor from the Duke while holding her beloved ribbon. And the nobles take advantage to use the ribbon against her, arguing she should take care of everything she receives. She then alerts everyone that someone, directly pointing to him, stormed into her room and rips the mentioned ribbon. The Duke quickly checks if she's hurt and starts to get really angry until Melody stops him. She does think it's childish of them to hold a grudge against a child, but she doesn't wish to punish them, so the Duke kicks him out of his mansion instead. Later, Granny Higgins repairs her ribbon while ranting about the lunatics and promises Melody that she'll repair her hat as well, making her really happy. However, when she gets back to her room, she sobs uncontrollably for failing to take care of her priceless items, until she hears Claude and Loretta outside her room. She really needs her comfort, so she quickly opens her door, only to find Claude alone. It's a lie, so she shuts her door and cries again while he apologizes, explaining that Loretta didn't want to comfort her and he just came first since he's jealous. Not the way Melody thinks, but because he wants to have her all to himself for a while. He gives her a handkerchief, and after she calms down, he invites her to see Loretta. She isn't sure, but she follows him anyway, and when she gets there, she finds that the path doesn't lead to Loretta's room, but to the library. Claude leads her to a table and instructs her to write her name on the book she recognizes. It's the notebook she uses to keep the records he asks for, and she assumes he'll give it to her. Nope. This cunning man gets the book from her, saying it's filled with conversation magic, and his plan is even better. He shows her their shelves full of past records and believes they will be helpful for people in the future. He asks Melody to add hers to the shelf with the exception that if someone ever cites it, it will be credited to notes compiled by Melody of the Baldwin family. She is surprised since she isn't part of their family, but Claude finds nothing wrong with it and even teases her that she can just marry someone in the family, making her really flustered. He goofs around, acting all innocent, saying he's talking about Loretta, who wants to marry her. But she clarifies that she can't marry a Duke family member, but wants to stay with baby Loretta forever. And the thought that she won't leave anytime soon makes him very happy. So the two of them go to Loretta's room. Cutie Loretta quickly hugs Melody and asks if she likes the present her brother gave her. She appears to have no idea until she realizes that Claude's gift is actually the notebook that he has added to the bookshelf and protected with his magic. Her joy has spread to Loretta, and Claude is beaming with pride in the background. Meanwhile, the Duke and Mr. Higgins discuss Melody's need for a stable position. The Duke can't just ask anyone since they will use Melody to manipulate him, and he can't adopt her since Ronnie strongly objects to the idea. We know why, LOL. Melody is in a tough spot right now because her mother's execution date has been set, and her mother is using her last request to make Melody stay with her until she dies. Trying to leave a trauma to her daughter till the end. Gosh. The next day, he discusses it with Melody and reminds her that she can always decline the request. She knows that her mother has never worried about her and just wants to use her to make herself feel better. Her mother has always been a very selfish person and always will be, but this time, she doesn't want to get hurt anymore. The Duke is grateful that she chose not to comply, saving herself from getting hurt. Yes, just a flowery path ahead for our girl, please. He plans to sign the document denying the request, but Melody convinces him to let her do it on her own so she can finally be free of her mother's control. The Duke agrees and lets Claude escort her to the prison. On the carriage, she's still new with wearing gloves, and the two start discussing how uncomfortable gloves are, and Claude even lends her his. She wonders how they were only 4 years apart, but he acts so mature, and even his hands are so big. She doesn't have to worry since she'll grow up soon, and he asks when her birthday is. She actually doesn't know her birthday, but she chooses spring, when yellow flowers bloom. The awkwardness gets cut off when they arrive at the prison and a knight she knows shows up. It's Isaiah. Seeing her childhood friend brings back memories of Isaiah defending her from bullies. They took her shoe once, and Isaiah caught the bully for her so she could get her payback. But she's just so nice that she let the bully go. He scolds her for being so kind and swears to protect her ever since. And that night, she will never forget when Isaiah returns her missing shoe. He's sweet. They talk for a long time about how much they miss each other, and Claude notices how close they are and requests that the chief knight let Isaiah come along with them. So Claude calls Melody to board the carriage with Isaiah, but he later finds Isaiah's friendliness to Melody impolite. Inside the room, Isaiah is overwhelmed by the chocolates in front of him and is unable to disguise his emotions. He even asks Claude if he could bring some for the other nights, while Melody feels happy that he has never changed and that he always shares what he has with his friends. Melody is like family to him, and so he kneels before Claude, formally thanking him for taking care of Melody, until Melody recalls something important, rolls a book, and hits Isaiah. Melody remembers Mrs. Merlin, Isaiah's mother, telling her to slap her son in the head if she ever sees him. She smacks him and orders him to write a letter to his mother. He could never write a letter to his mother since he believes she regards him as a disgrace for not pursuing medicine. He knows his mother will be upset if she learns that he's the knight's escort, while Melody yells back, confirming that his mother is already disappointed because he hasn't contacted her. After hearing this, he agrees to write his mother a letter but has no idea how. He asks Melody if his one-sentence letter will do, but she has never written a letter either. They only gaze at Claude, the only one of them who appears to be experienced. On their way home, she apologizes to Claude for getting so caught up in conversing with Isaiah that she forgot the central prison office was closing, preventing them from doing what they had planned to do there. But he reassures her they have plenty of time to do it. He also agreed to teach Isaiah, but he didn't want the vulgar boy around Loretta, making her realize he hates Isaiah. Melody is surprised to see Isaiah the next morning at the Duke's mansion. She asks why, and he says that the young master promised to teach him how to write letters. However, she is concerned because Claude has informed her that he will be busy today, so the scheduled tutorial will have to be postponed. Well, Isaiah is even happier to hear the news, and since it's his day off, he tells her they may play together until the evening. During their conversation, Claude enters her room looking so tired, quickly checks if Loretta is with them, and is pleased to find she is not there. Melody assured the worried young master that Isaiah will not harm anyone and that he is trustworthy. Just then, Mr. Higgins informs them that Loretta wants to meet Melody's guest, and they both shout no, causing Loretta to cry. Claude, the siscon, is quick to comfort his little sister to stop her from crying. They all ended up staying in one room, with Isaiah improving his writing abilities, Loretta enjoying drawing, and Melody noticing that Isaiah is a fast learner, proving that he is the smartest kid in their village. Claude hands her a piece of paper and urges her to write as well, but she has no idea who she should send her letter to. He suggests and whispers to her that she can send the person who recently helped her and close to her. She misinterprets his signals and decides to write Loretta a letter. Claude, just tell her you want a letter. Loretta is so happy to let Melody know that she is also writing her a letter, and she proudly shows her paper. Melody embraces Loretta while telling her that she likes her so much, and she finishes her letter as well. Before Isaiah goes home, Melody warns him to write his mother at least once a week, and that the young master has helped so much that he should also try his best. He will, but he wants her to promise that she'll never see her mother again because she's too kind-hearted and will just hurt herself. He admits that when he saw her at the prison entrance, he was worried that she would meet her mother, but relieved that she did not. Isaiah knows her well and fears that she will change her mind, so he encourages her that it's okay to ignore the last request because it will be the best revenge. She agrees, informing him that she has already decided not to suffer anymore. Melody and Claude are now delivering the letter to their mailman, and she's happy to know Mrs. Merlin will receive her letter in just a week. Before leaving, the mailman asks Claude where to deliver his birthday gifts this year, and he requests that he deliver them to the academy. Melody thinks his birthday is just around the corner, but Claude explains that it's just a pre-check to make sure there are enough carriages for the gifts. The mailman assures her that she will also receive many gifts on her birthday as she is a special guest of the Duke. The mailman asks Melody when her birthday is, and since she doesn't know, she simply says it's in spring. Just spring. The mailman realizes that he may have asked the wrong question, so he breaks the tension by offering to deliver her birthday gifts on any spring day, and he bids them goodbye. Melody tries to cheer herself up by telling herself that her birthday could be on any day in the spring, but she knows deep down that she's lonely. And as if he could read her mind, he suggests asking her mother because he notices how curious she is to know about her birthday. A guy who pays attention. Love it. His encouragement is making her waver. Melody is surprised when Mr. Higgins informs her that she is a visitor, the mailman, who has come to apologize for hurting her feelings the last time they discussed birthdays. He suggests that she choose a date she likes as her birthday, so her name will be attached to a beautiful day and she will receive many congratulatory letters or gifts from her loved ones. He adds that everyone has the right to enjoy something on their special day. Hearing all his words makes Melody consider Claude's suggestions for meeting her mother. While she is approaching the capital's prison, her thoughts are filled with Isaiah's words, but she is now determined to meet her mother to fill the emptiness she feels inside. Claude escorts her, as he feels responsible for making her change her decision to see her mother. He offers to accompany her inside to protect her in case trouble occurs, but she insists on talking to her mother alone, so he opts to wait for her inside the carriage. Claude spots a guy following Melody's way as she walks in with the knight. She walks silently, observing the structures of the building, and realizes the place is the prison for nobles, thinking her mother is still blessed to be there with the Duke's grace. Suddenly, someone grabs her, and it's Isaiah, who is trying to run fast while holding her wrist tightly, certain that she is there because of the Duke's orders, and all the while believing that the nobles forced Melody to visit her mother. Just then, Melody pulls her hands away from him and says that she chose to be there. He can't believe what she is saying and reminds her of her past, yelling in rage that he would not allow it, that he would not let her be hurt again. Just then, Claude enters and orders him to let go of Melody. Can't blame him. He just wants to protect our girl. Seeing Claude makes Isaiah more enraged. He blames him for bringing Melody there and asks why they lack compassion. Melody observes his reactions and concludes that he is angry with her simply because he wants to protect her. She explains that the Duke actually doesn't want her to be there, and it's her free will to see her mother. Hearing this, Isaiah loses his temper once more, and his voice starts to tremble. He really wants her to let go of her evil mother and live a happy life. She holds his hands, trying to calm him down, and informs him that she has something to ask her mother. It doesn't mean that seeing her mother makes her forget the past. She explains that she's already decided to live for herself, and smilingly tells him she's really fine now. When she was bullied in the past, she told him the same thing, so he doesn't believe what she's saying. The young master commands the knights to take Isaiah, and this time, he quietly complies. Melody's knight escort instantly apologizes and brings her to her mother, while Claude waits for her in the hall. Her mother acts all worried about her now and starts talking about her plan to get out while Melody sits in silence. She understands that her mother is only looking for some comfort, so she stops her before she can apologize and ask for forgiveness. She has made up her mind, and now she only cares about one thing: finding out her exact date of birth. Her mother sweats at the sudden question, and all she can answer is that she was miserably kicked out of the capital, so she doesn't know. Not the answer Melody is looking for. She starts to leave, making her mother yell her heart out. She was tired to death when she was born, so she should just be grateful that she decided to have her. She then shares that it was spring and snowing that day. There were knights everywhere, and no one dared to open their door for her. I was touched for a moment there, until her mother blames her for all the suffering she went through. Her mother didn't change until the very end, and that's probably for the best. She can now let go of her without feeling guilty. Her mother's hatred for her is so great that if there weren't bars between them, she might have killed her own daughter. After her last goodbye, she meets Claude where he said he would be waiting and finds him intriguingly odd. He praises her bravery, smiles at her warmly, and the two get ready to go home. That night, she visits the Duke in his room to plead for mercy on behalf of her friend Isaiah. She explains that Isaiah has been looking out for her ever since she was little, and that he was only trying to do the same thing earlier. The Duke now has second thoughts about the punishment, making Melody relieved. However, that doesn't mean the Duke will not give the young boy a penalty. Not on his watch. But of course, the Duke will not punish Isaiah severely, which she appreciates. The embarrassed Duke then makes an effort to casually present her with a gift, telling her she needs winter clothes to visit her friend, so he gives her a catalog. But our girl misunderstands and thinks the Duke wants her to pick clothes for Loretta, making his efforts for nothing. She then runs into Claude, who is pushing a cart full of books. She can already imagine that her plan to look at dresses for Loretta will have to be canceled because of him. And sure enough, he indeed makes Melody help him with the books as payment for his help in the prison. LOL. When they arrive at the library, she learns that reading books is Claude's hobby. He then hands her a record book that states the weather description her mother gave. Spring, but snowing. She starts putting things together and remembering what her mother said, which makes him happy that she's regained her energy again. Aww, this is all part of his plan to support our girl in finding her birth dates. They have 3 clues: strange weather, wandering knights, and villagers who wouldn't open their doors to a pregnant woman. Claude then recalls that a long time ago, an assassin pretended to be a guest in a village near where royalty goes and murdered the entire family before getting caught. And since then, the royal family has issued an order to the villages, through which the royal carriage regularly passes, to never open doors for strangers for everyone's safety. He happens to be in possession of the very book they need, a record book of the royal family. She is hesitant and concerned that they are building their hopes too high. In an instant, Claude washes away her concerns and reassures her that they will find it. She can't stop wondering why he's so kind to her, and as usual, he uses his baby sister as an excuse, saying Loretta will hate him if he's not nice to her, which she buys. He hands her the book, and as she reads it, flashbacks to when she got bullied because she didn't have a birthday came flooding back. Her lack of response is making Claude worry. When he realizes she found it, she found her birth date! He wipes her tears away, and now he can finally ask when her birthday is. Aw, thank you, Claude! And it's incredibly sweet to see that her birthday has been marked on everyone's calendars. After a few days, Isaiah pays her a visit and immediately kneels and sobs upon seeing her. He feels ashamed and apologizes for his past behavior, but Melody thinks that she should be the one apologizing, confusing him. She never listened to his advice before and always runs away from bullies, so this time she properly expresses how grateful she is. He always wanted her to stand up for herself, but now that she does, he feels unneeded. But even so, he's glad. He then notices her wrist with a bandage and thinks it's his fault, so this time he kneels, sobs, and bangs his head on the floor. She stops him, saying it's not because of him, but of young Master Ronnie. Ronnie has actually requested that she treat him like his brother, which she quickly accepts. However, since she believes he does not enjoy tea, she will bring him milk, making the young master very embarrassed. And she hurt her wrist when she helped Ronnie clean up after he broke a teacup. Ronnie was in a hurry and tried to clean it up himself, so the two of them got hurt in the process. Isaiah calms down, and they continue talking. And Melody learns that the Duke's punishment for him was, well, dreadful for Isaiah. Washing socks. She was worried about him and is happy that it's nothing serious. But their conversation was cut short when Ronnie barged in. He invites her to join him for marshmallows and tea, but Melody encourages him to drink milk to grow taller, and he blushingly complies. He keeps rushing her, causing Isaiah to lose patience and yells back at him. They end up playing cards and betting that Ronnie shouldn't treat Melody like a maid, while Ronnie wants him to stay out of it. As the two keep arguing, baby Loretta wins the game with a royal straight flush and receives a cuddle from Melody. Ronnie is being a sore loser and wants to play a different game with Isaiah. He wants to challenge him to treasure hunting, but more stealing. The game is simple. They have to sneak inside Mr. Higgins' office to retrieve a record book. His game is giving Melody headaches, but Isaiah, being as competitive as he is, did not back down. For decades, the Higgins family has served as the Baldwins family's butler. They are in charge of documenting everything that occurs in the mansion. Therefore, the Higgins office is stuffed with historical records of the Duke's family. They are accurate records with not a single day missing, and it is well known that Higgins takes pride in them. So that night, their game begins. The two agree to steal just June's worth of records, and whoever gets caught loses, while Melody watches them having a good time with their little game. Ronnie starts the game and looks inside without realizing that Melody is behind him. He immediately grabs her, fearing they'll be discovered, and enters Higgins' office. He's really into the game and yells at her for trying to make him lose, but actually, she's just worried about his wounds. After dressing his wounds, she innocently asks why he keeps asking her to serve him tea. And that's when he goes on to explain that he felt bad for treating her badly before. He finally expresses his feelings and apologizes to her and asks her not to leave their mansion. She gets him and knows he's lonely because Claude is constantly at the academy while Jeremiah, the third son, went to the magic tower and never came back. She says it without thinking, and Ronnie gets confused as to how she knew about Jeremiah. Before she can respond, Ronnie, who is overjoyed, believes it was Claude who told her, and his eyes shine as he keeps praising how great his brother is. He keeps telling her she can stay, and that's when she understands she too will become an adult and will most likely need to find another place as the door unexpectedly opens. They are safe. It's just Isaiah. He enters the room since he can't wait until he's done. He walks straight to the shelf and finds something strange. The June record from 6 years ago is missing. He feels it was taken to read, but our smart girl disagrees. She discovers no vacant space between the books and believes it was never there to begin with. She questions Ronnie about why he specified to only steal June's record books and learns that it was Claude who taught him the game. She then remembers that in the novel, the Duke and Duchess were married by contract and agreed to split up after a few years. Eventually, they fell in love. Yet for some reason, they kept their promise to separate. Melody knows it took place 6 years ago, and to connect her puzzle, she thinks it happened in June and the Duke hid it as the record contains concealed secrets on it. And so Claude created a game to investigate it. Well, that's the end of their game since Granny crept up behind them and caught them. The next day, Melody is doing her usual routine, which is to write notes in Claude's room. He finds out that she used him as an excuse last night, which is fine to him, but he wonders why she knows Jeremiah, since he knows no one dares to mention his name. According to the novel, the Duke was against him leaving, and so it became a silent rule in the mansion not to talk about the third son. Melody has no more reason to lie, but Claude just smiles and even asks her to be his secret sharing buddy. She declines, since she knows he'll use it to make her do more work. But it turns out Claude's stay is over and he will be returning to the academy tomorrow. I guess that's fine, so she'll miss him in order for their relationship to flourish. So guys, what do you think of this story so far? Please subscribe and turn on notifications for updates on this and all our other stories, so you can be the first to find out when they're out. Thank you so much for your support. See you in the next one!